oh, I got to write such and such story. So we would get to write stories, but then we'd have to show them to the anchors, and they would probably rewrite them and fiddle with them. But at least we were trying to get some sort of experience. And one of them, our main anchor, did a cut-in, which means just like a 30-second clip on the air, and it was live once every hour, all during the day. But at 2 o'clock, he'd been there forever, so he could do whatever he wanted to do. And at 2 o'clock, he was always gone home to lunch because he lived close to the station. And at 2 o'clock, all the reporters were out of the building, always covering stories. There was no on-air person that was in the building at 2 o'clock. So one of these gals said, I want to do the 2 o'clock cut-in. We laughed at her. Are you kidding? We're floor sweepers. We're not on TV. Are you kidding? So the news director said, well, he's the boss. He said, well, come up there and practice a little bit and record it and bring it to me and let me see it. And she did. And he looked at it and he said, sure, you can do the 2 o'clock cut-in. Are you kidding? Well, 2 weeks later, she got a promotion, but that meant she moved to the morning show. So she was not there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon anymore. And I said, me. I wish I'd thought of the idea, but I would have never thought of that idea. And so I rode on her coattails and I said, me. And so I did it, and I did it for a long time. I probably did it for a year. I didn't get paid for it. I lived at home with Mom and Dad. They fed me, which was great. But that's how I got my start on the air. Is, again, kind of something really weird and outside the box. It was not my job, but I asked if I could try it. I asked if I could do it. And let me tell you, if you ask somebody to do something that needs to be done, in most cases, they'll say yes if they think you're serious and a hard worker. So if you're persistent and keep on trying, that's sort of been the story of my life. I was persistent. Where am I going to get this journalism degree from? Because I'm not getting into Carolina. And I almost didn't get into the journalism school at Colorado. And I want to be on TV, so, persistence. It will happen. Almost, eventually, you look back at it and you say, oh, yeah, that was not as hard as it seemed at the time. Because when you're going through it, it seems impossible. Because you have to wait and look and claw around. Where's the door? I'm not seeing the door. And it just feels like you're never going to find that door. And all of a sudden, bam, there it is. If you keep looking for it. Let's see, what was the one other thing I was going to tell you? Oh, one other thing is, so I keep talking about this journalism degree, but I'm a meteorologist. I never really thought that I was very good at math or science. But I decided, once I got out there and tried it, that I didn't like talking about bad news all day, all the time. So I started hanging out in the weather center with a friend of mine who did weekend weather. And because I had some reporting experience, I got to go to a smaller TV station to do weather. And they paid for school. Finance in college is a big deal. That's something that you guys are really going to have to, again, think outside of the box on. Whatever you can do not to have a lot of college debt is great. And this is a little secret tip that you can remember. Certain companies will pay for your college. So I had already gotten a degree, and that helped me get my job. But then the companies, it was 2 different companies, because I was at one station and moved to another, paid for 3 years of college for me to go back for meteorology. So that's a good thing to think about when you're thinking about what career you may want to work in. Maybe if you don't have the resources, maybe you go to community college for a little while, and you're eyeing a job in a certain company, and you know they pay for school, and you can get your college education that way too. Do you guys have questions?
2 minutes to ask your questions. What degree did you get?
I got a Bachelor of Science in Journalism, and then I got a Bachelor of Science in Geosciences. It wasn't technically meteorology, because I think they didn't require where I went, because I actually did it correspondence. At that point in my life, I was married, and I wasn't living in a place where we had meteorology. There are only like 3 places in North Carolina that offer meteorology, so I wasn't near one of those. So I did it through distance learning, or correspondence, as it was called back then. So we were missing a little bit of calculus, so they call it geosciences instead of meteorology. Too bad. Yes.
What college what job did you want to do when you were a kid?
Well, I started off, and my poor daughter has my same teeth. I hate it for her. Great big, huge buck teeth that stick out like this. And so when I was about 7 or 8, I had to go to the orthodontist and start getting braces really early. And my orthodontist was so nice. He was the greatest guy. And Mom said, you know, the orthodontist doesn't work on Fridays, and he makes a lot of money. So that sounds great, orthodontist. I'm going to be an orthodontist. It's funny because when I look back at all the things that I thought that I would be, they were all science related, and that's where I ended up after all. But then I fell in love with horses and dogs and cats and things like that. So I'm going to be a vet. But then in 8th grade, I took that class in television, and okay, that's what I'll do. But then, of course, I ended up being a scientist anyway.
All right, any last questions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any kids?
I do. I have a 1st grader and a 3rd grader. So, yes.
What made you want to be a weatherman?
Well, I wish that I could say, like Greg Fischel, that I wanted to be a meteorologist since I was 4 years old. He'll tell you that. But instead, I went around sort of through the back door. And I tried a lot of different things before I decided what it is that I wanted to be. And honestly, I was just kind of trying it out. It wasn't something that I've dreamed of all my life. And I hadn't really, like I said, I'd gone through a lot of things. I wanted to be an orthodontist. I wanted to be a vet. I really wanted to be a ski instructor and a rap guide. One of these days still, maybe when I retire. But I had a friend who was doing weather on the weekends. He got to do feature stories during the weekend. I really did like to write stories. I really do like to read and write still. But I thought, well, that was interesting. And I tried it out, and I really liked it. I like the role of the meteorologist at the TV station. We're responsible for everything that we do. We do all of our own forecasting. We build all of the maps that you see us standing in front of, and everything that I say on the air is my responsibility, and nobody's really checking up behind me. As like the reporters, they write their script, they write their story, and like 3 people look at it before it goes on the air. That doesn't happen. It's all my responsibility, which is kind of nice. I kind of like it that way. Weather is cool. When you study meteorology, you're just studying how things work. So you learn, why is the sky blue? Why is it going to snow? When is it going to snow? Who doesn't want to know that? Who wants to know when it's going to snow? So you're studying stuff that's really cool. And so I ended up really liking it a lot. And at this point, I hope to do it until I retire. But I will tell you, ladies, unfortunately, it is a visual business. And you look at all the old guys, and you don't see a lot of old gals. I hope that will change by the time you guys are out there in the working world. But that still does happen. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. So,
Oh no.